Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen show, where they talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 162, Technicolor Zoho, recorded on Friday, September 3rd, 2021 from Zanata Consulting. I'm Brett Martin.
And I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the show.
All righty, let us start with, as usual, our announcements and events. On September 21st, we will be having a webinar on Zoho PageSense. It's going to be a full product tutorial and walkthrough, and that's at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And as always, if you head on over to our events page, you can see everything that is coming up in the future here. And man, it's a little slow, I have to say. Zoho is for the summer. It seems like very, very few people are doing any webinars, but we've got a few coming up this month. I guess besides ours, there's a master inventory and order management for the holiday season.
Getting ready for all those digital orders.
Yeah, there you go. So that's coming up, and we'll look forward to that and many more, he says as his earbud falls out. All right, and so moving right along, let's get into the news, Tyler, and we've got a lot of it. This opening story is a little odd. Zoho is officially launching Catalyst. I never knew it wasn't officially launched. I want to say, gosh, they're saying here it debuted in 2019. I want to say that was at the developers conference in October, right?
Yep, it would have been a developers conference.
Everybody's had full access to it. So for those of you that don't know, it is basically, I don't know, what would you call this? It's kind of like it's
like their serverless tool. You know, it's pretty similar to like an AWS or Azure, right? Where you can actually host your data here, run your code here. So you're building things in Node.js or JavaScript that are automating processes. Of course, the benefit being if those processes are also going to tie into Zoho, right? Then you're kind of all in one ecosystem to build out those, databases or cloud systems that might not fit within Zoho's default tools.
I always mix these up. So Catalyst is the hosting platform, and what is the development
Sigma
platform?
Sigma is like the extension development platform.
Great. So you can develop your extensions there and then automatically host them, put them in the marketplace. You don't have to worry about it.
Yep.
So anyway, for the developers out there, this has been out for over 2 years, but now I guess it's officially out. I don't know if you guys noticed any changes to this at all?
No, not really. It's not honestly an application that we touch too often. We don't find ourselves needing to. Most of the time when we're automating things, we're able to just build it natively into the various Zoho apps.
All right, move on. Zoho ShowTime. We've talked about this a little bit in the past. This is just kind of one by one deprecation. So Zoho ShowTime is being renamed Trainer Central. It's actually being moved out of the Zoho platform as a part of any bundle. Is more of a standalone brand across the board. It's out. It will be leaving Zoho 1 on September 1 as well, which was 2 days ago. So it's gone. If you got your demo account logged in and registered before September 1, you're good to go. It's going to stay there. But it's leaving all of the various bundles. So it's also leaving Zoho Workplace. Existing users will not lose any of their ShowTime data. They'll have access to it. They can migrate to Trainer Central at no extra cost. This is kind of interesting because in Zoho 1, they're saying they're just going to leave ShowTime there, right? There was no migration.
I think they're going to leave it for now, but it's going to be a similar thing that they're going to migrate you over to Trainer Central, just at no extra cost if you already had ShowTime.
So you're going to get Trainer Central in your Zoho 1 or have access to it anyway, but no one else going forward will. So
exactly.
It's really a different application, Trainer Central, in a lot of ways than ShowTime ever was. But ShowTime is gone. I guess with the focus here, if you want to do a webinar, which is oftentimes what people use ShowTime for, then you can do that in Zoho Meetings, which has its own webinar app. So a part of that makes a lot of sense to me as well. Yep. And then SalesIQ is allowing you to prioritize and narrow your focus by removing people from your view. So if you ever use this view in SalesIQ and you're actually providing support, you can kind of filter the people that are online now and just kind of focus down on the ones you really want to you want to pay attention to.
This is kind of a nice one too, because oftentimes what companies will do is they'll use this ring and determine at which point a sales rep should proactively message someone. Because in SalesIQ, you don't have to wait for them to chat you first. You can actually initiate a chat with them. And so I might say that, if you're watching us on video here, once they reach the yellow ring, it's now time to give them a chat. But if you're going to do that, you wouldn't want to chat a visitor who's already connected to someone else. So I could see a pretty nice use case for this if you are kind of being proactive on SalesIQ.
Yeah. All right. And moving right along, you can now create invoices for milestones in Zoho projects. Tell me about it, Tyler.
So, Zoho Projects has already had an integration for Zoho Books, where you can basically roll up time entries and submit them as an invoice to the customer on file for that project. Now, in this case, it's kind of just a different way to manage those invoices. So rather than just rolling up time entries, you could say, once you've completed a milestone, you've finished up everything inside of that, you can just create an invoice for that milestone. I can definitely see this, oftentimes if you're doing a big build out, construction, or setting up IT services, things kind of go in phases, and you might set up invoices, in your contract that says, once we finish this, we're going to invoice you. Once we finish the next part, we're going to invoice you. So it's kind of a natural way to break these things out and just invoice based on those project milestones.
This could be a nice workaround for some of our construction clients that struggle with Zoho Books, where they're putting out a master invoice and it's to be paid at this milestone, that milestone. Zoho Books doesn't really have a way to really nicely manage the proper payments and show all those kind of things. This could work well. I mean, I can see a lot of use for this. One of the things I will tell everybody that's been happening lately is it seems like once a month or so, the integration between projects and invoicing breaks, and the invoices don't go out for people that live inside Zoho projects. So I know they're working on fixing that, but this could work out well. I don't know. I think it's a nice thing. I don't know if we've got anybody that would use this right now.
That's a good one to have in your back pocket, though. If your contract terms match this, then it's perfect for you. Otherwise, you could just continue to use the timesheet billings as your invoice.
Yeah. And this next one's kind of cool. Bigin news. They are now having ready-made templates for your business. Really, what this is if you are going ahead and setting up, your pipeline and your modules, they're going to basically have all of these various templates that are going to go through your module and set up what your deal stages should be. The article's nice. Unfortunately, it just shows the base one, but they basically are putting in proper stages, like you listed the home's in escrow, those kind of things, if it's real estate. It's nice. I'd like to actually see this come over to the CRM. It might actually help people kind of get an idea. I think it would really give you a really nice place to start sometimes when thinking about your pipeline. I kind of went through these. They're very basic, but again, a really nice place to start.
And in addition to adding the stages, they're also dropping in some specific fields that they're assuming you might want to track. Like if it was real estate, maybe you'd have an earnest money date, right? Some of these like key parts of a process specific to your industry that they're going to pre-map out for you. Of course, you can continue to customize on top of that. But like you're saying, oftentimes it's easier to start from something that's even 70% of the way there rather than, a total blank slate.
Yeah. And a lot of people build out their Zoho completely from scratch by themselves. They never talk to a consultant. They never talk to anybody. They just go ahead and do it themselves. And I think this will really help them. I was talking to someone the other day over at Zoho, and Bigin's taken off, man. I mean, the traction on this that they're getting, it's in the App Store now, and you actually could subscribe to it in the iTunes App Store and in Google Play Store, and they're letting them take their 30% on that, and they're really starting to push it. And from a clean CRM, I mean, it really is that. So good stuff there. And then for those of you who use WorkDrive, TrueSync is now supporting multiple accounts to your computer. So if you're not familiar with TrueSync, this is an application that runs on your PC or your Mac, but this is not supported on Mac, and allows you to connect to WorkDrive and say, I want the entire WorkDrive to sync down to my computer. I just want these folders. But either way, it gives you that visibility in your desktops. You open a folder, you see everything. Whether it's synced or not, at least you'll have the overall file name and you can click and open it. You can drag things to that folder and it will sync them up to Work Drive. Well, now, if you've got multiple different Work Drive accounts, you can sync to multiple of them from within your Windows machine. Valuable for people that have multiple versions of Work Drive, I would imagine.
Yeah, it looks like it kind of parks them in two totally separate little databases that you can refer to here. So that's nice. Keeps everything in its own little bucket, so you're not going to have files kind of getting interchanged between the two easily. So definitely a nice little feature. I mean, I don't know. I imagine most people are probably just running one Work Drive account, but in those use cases where you have a couple, this is really nice to have.
Yeah, what I think is really interesting about this too is it's actually going to tell you what your storage is on that Work Drive and how much you've used of it, because they're giving you two different examples of it here. So you've got that. Kind of nice. So you'll know where you are at all times with this. So excellent. And that takes us to yet more news. Zoho Backstage has now added Expo management. This is cool. So basically, if you are putting on either a virtual or a physical event, you're selling booth space, all of those kind of things, you can now manage this directly inside of Backstage, which is their event management platform. If you're unfamiliar with it, you can set the number of booths you have available, each size. I have a feeling this is Zoho ramping up yet for Zoholics, which I hear rumors is going to start again next year. And this is a feature they probably didn't have in there, and now it's there.
Definitely one of those applications they build for their own usage. They do run all of their own events on Backstage, and yeah, this is a pretty slick feature to have if you are selling booth space or just want to allow people to request it. Nice to just manage that in the same platform that you're using to run the entire event.
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's actually funny. I was talking with someone just the other day that does events, and we kind of did a nice little cursory overview of Backstage, and it's everything they want. They like the no ticketing fees. We always have to point that out.
Yep.
Unlike Eventbrite and everything else where they charge ticketing fees, they don't have that inside of Backstage. So great platform. All right. And then moving on, we have threads inside of Zoho Cliq. I thought we always did, but I guess I missed it. I mean, you always had the reply all inside.
Yeah, they've had replies for a little while now, but the nice thing about threads is that once you start replying to them, they don't keep taking up additional space inside of that channel. It kind of all rolls up into that thread, which you can expand and continue to comment on. So if you're watching us on the video here, it's pretty slick that, it's just, you might have a bunch of different things being talked about within one channel, and there's just a nice and easy way to kind of split that out into its own chain of communication.
So I haven't played with this yet. Does the thread then move to the bottom of the page, or does the thread stay where it was and you have to keep scrolling up to the thread?
I haven't activated it for our account yet.
Okay. Interesting. We'll have to play around with it. I think we have such discrete channels for everything that it almost is like each one of our channels is its own thread,
right?
They're
very topic specific.
Yeah. I mean, we really do. It's not like there's just a general, hey, everybody have a chit chat and you've got different threads going there. It seems like we have channels for everything, which are in fact threads, but a nice look. They continue to improve Cliq across the board, and it just gets better and better and better. I think far and away one of our favorite Zoho applications by far. And then moving on with some, I don't know, and it just feels like this is just more announcements and tweaks this week, everything we've had. But hey, Zoho goes crazy with a Colorpalooza. So we've got tags and pick lists are getting color. So first of all, let's start with tags. Inside of the CRM, you can now colorize your tags. So this actually is pretty cool. They've added it into tag management. When you create a tag, you can colorize it, or when you are editing them, you can colorize it. So if you want to just kind of sort things in a different way and make sure that they kind of jump out at you because you've assigned a nice color to a tag, these will show up in your list view. So a nice, easy way to manage these things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we get asked this a lot. How can we color code things? I think a big use of this, if we scroll down a little on the page, it should show the list view version for those watching us on video. And so it's nice to be able to see these in a list or in a Kanban, so that, especially if you're using it for something like priority or, value, so that you're able to easily find the things that you need, especially when you're working from those lists.
Yep. And you can always change the color and modify it and do what you want. So yeah, I think this will make things really, really jump out. And it kind of modernizes, if there's one complaint we get about Zoho CRM is it's plain looking, right? I think Canvas view has certainly changed that quite a bit with what you can do there, but this is kind of nice in the general view. And then inside of Zoho CRM, you have color coding in the pick list fields for your meetings. So again, this is if you actually live inside the CRM and you live inside calendar, because Zoho CRM has a nice calendar. This allows you to say, hey, here's what kind of meeting it is. And it's going to kind of color code those meetings. So the different colors, you'll actually know what type of meetings you have. It's funny because I do this right now in Google Calendar but I have to have completely different calendars for everything to change the color coding on it automatically. Right. So nice little feature.
Yeah, definitely nice to have for those that do live inside that CRM calendar, especially when you're doing kind of like sales related meetings about a particular deal. Nice to be able to quickly see those from the calendar view based on this color code.
Now, Zoho in Technicolor. It's just like the 1960s all over again. It's coming back. All right. And then you can now import users into your CRM in batches of up to 1,000 at a time. And it looks like you can assign roles, role ID, profile name. A nice feature, I have to say.
I would assume this is probably, if you just have a CRM license, I don't think this would quite work if you were on Zoho 1, but nonetheless, being able to just grab it in a spreadsheet, import everybody at once, especially if you were adding 100 or so users, just takes a ton of time to do it that way. So it's a pretty slick little update, especially for new clients that are coming on board that do need to add, a whole bunch of users to get started.
Yeah, on Zoho 1, the only time I've really run into it, and for larger companies are the ones that oftentimes want to do this, but Zoho 1 does support an Active Directory sync. So you can add all the users to Zoho 1 using Active Directory. So, and a lot of big companies are on Microsoft anyway. So kind of another little workaround to make that happen. And then in more Zoho news, Zoho Blueprints now lets you automatically convert records, update user fields, and more. So kind of adding some workflow functionality into Blueprints.
Yeah, they've always had that kind of workflow steps in terms of like, once a button has been pressed, what should we do with it? Now, the one thing I do want to highlight here that is actually really nice about them adding the convert to the Blueprint is that the way that it works, if we look at the comments, is even if a user didn't have permission to convert a lead, if they're working through that Blueprint, they can still use the Blueprint to run the conversion. Now, the nice thing about that is that it comes up all the time where people want to institute more controls around what needs to happen before a lead can be converted. And using the convert button, it's really kind of like a binary state. Like, do they have permission to convert or do they not? And you can't really require fields being entered on the lead before that convert button is clicked. So the nice thing about it being in a Blueprint is you could actually disable the convert button for all of your sales reps. And the only way they could convert could be through the Blueprint. Nice thing there is now you're able to require certain fields get added, require that they leave a certain note about it, require that they set up a follow-up task, which would then convert over to the deal. So you're able to map a lot more of your workflow to that conversion process and make sure that things are being properly qualified before they're getting turned into deals. So even though it seems minor, it's actually a pretty slick update to be able to have the Blueprint level of control around lead conversion.
Nice. And was the field update, it says you can now get both single and multi-user lookup fields updated. So you couldn't do that before?
You can update the user fields. Like, you wouldn't be able to change the owner of the record during a conversion, but now you can.
Nice. Again, that's another big thing, I think, pretty helpful, huh?
Mm-hmm.
All right, and let's go to the Community Digest. A bunch of them dropped. They always do it the first few days of September. One of them we think is mislabeled, which is the Zoho Desk one, but it's pretty sure it's the August update for Zoho Desk. But we've got the CRM desk and inventory community digest updates. If you're not familiar, if you go to the Zoho community, zoho.com, just search Zoho community, you'll get over there. This is where all the news drops, everything. And Zoho likes to put together these kind of digests that really just tie in pretty much everything we talk about throughout the month. Occasionally, we like to skim through these and see if there's anything we've missed. I will notice that one of our MVPs, the Zoho community, Kevin Flynn, in the chat room now, came up with it. Kevin, it seems like you're all over the place with all this stuff. Good job, man. Anyway, these are nice. If anything, oftentimes we don't cover it all, and it's kind of nice to go through here to see if there's stuff we've missed. I went through all these. I didn't see really anything that we missed at all. But
no, yeah, I think we caught these ones.
Yeah, I will say in CRM, I've never seen the announcement on this, but they moved the signature file. So
they did. We almost need to bring back. We used to, for longtime listeners, you might remember. For newer ones, you might not. We used to have a section called "Things We Noticed," and it basically just covered things that Zoho did not announce anywhere, but that seemed to have appeared either in our CRM or in our client CRMs. And this would definitely fit into that category.
Well, the problem is we got so dang busy. What would happen is Friday before the show, we'd sit down and like, hey, I noticed something this week. What was it? And we could never remember what it was. You almost got to write them down in real time. We should bring it back. But it's a big one because I actually had someone ask me the other day, like, hey, I can't find my signature. Where's my signature? And they moved it from under your user profile to under email now. So you actually have to go into email and it's there. And they actually added some nice features to it, multiple signature support and those kind of things. But I've never seen it mentioned anywhere. It's kind of kind of
snuck in.
Yeah. So we have the community digest for CRM, the community digest for desk, which is really small this week. Not a lot happening there in the world of Zoho Desk, and then the community digest for Zoho Inventory. And I don't know, anything jump out at you here?
Nothing too particular. I did notice this is really just like a quality of life thing if you are doing big imports. But if you were to import invoices, you can now in the same step import the addresses from those invoices to the customer. Whereas previously you would have to make sure that you assigned all those addresses to the customer first, or you could have some issues with the import. So it seems like they probably were getting some tickets around that over the past little while of like, hey, this import failed, what happened? And it generally was, well, that address doesn't exist for the customer yet. So just a nice little quality of life update there in terms of running your imports. But nothing too crazy here for August and inventory.
And here's their announcement on their master your inventory and order management for the holiday season right there. So you can get for the Americas and APAC. So anyway, good stuff there. These are always worth taking a look at. And Tyler, that brings us to the implementation of the week. What do we got?
So yeah, this is kind of a fun one that we built in the CRM. So it's basically a way to set up an auto notification either to the contact or contact owner. Or really, I'm using contact here, but it could be a deal, it could be an account. And it's just based on when a date field in that contact reaches a certain age. And so the use case here is that you can set up a workflow based on a date field, but you can only schedule it 24 months out into the future of that date. So if you wanted an automation of something like, hey, when a contact turns 30 based on their date of birth, we want to send them an email. Or a contact turns 21, we want to congratulate them and give them a coupon to come to the restaurant, right? And so you can track all those things in date fields.
Start their journey to alcoholism.
Exactly. Or you might have products that are age restricted, but people can sign up for your newsletter. And then once they reach a certain age, you want to, kind of re-engage them. And so what you can do with this is basically, jump past that limit of only being able to schedule something 24 months into the future. The other way to do this is with a formula field. You could set up a formula field called 21st birthday and add years to the date of birth. But formula fields are a little bit tricky in that if you run an import or if you add one later, it's not going to backfill for all these records. And you have to do silly little workarounds to, force it to fill that formula field for everything. But what you can actually do is using Zoho's COQL or CRM object query language, inside of Deluge, which is basically a way for the nerds that listen to build like a SQL query inside of your script. You can actually go ahead and selectively search for all people, in the morning whose date of birth field is 21 years in the past based on the current date. And then send them an email automatically or set up a task to whoever owns that contact to give them a call. And the really nice thing about this is that if you weren't doing it with a SalesQL query, you would have to get a whole bunch of contacts and process them all and like look for the date of birth and do the math on the date of birth. So you'd be using a lot of API calls just to try to iterate through all of these records. And the beautiful thing with SalesQL is that you build all those conditions into the call so that you only get records that you actually need to get for that automation. So you're able to, actually run this and, not expend all of your API credits or hit the 100 credit per minute limit, trying to run this on too many people at once.
Totally slick. When did we discover this?
The SalesQL is something that we started using about 6 months ago, and we're finding more and more use for it. Because it's just such a credit efficient way to get a lot of records. When you're running a function where, you press a button and calculate some totals, you don't really need to worry about credits. But when you're trying to run a function that's on a schedule that needs to look through a whole bunch of records and find the ones that match, if you're not selective with that query, you're going to just not be able to find everyone because you're going to hit your rate limits.
Super nice. Super nice.
And there's tons of use cases for it.
Is there good documentation on this, or we've been kind of
on SalesQL? It's a little limited. You really just have to know SQL. If you know SQL, it works basically the same way. But yeah, there's tons of use cases for this. You could say on a customer's 21st birthday. You could say on the 5-year anniversary of your customer onboarding, right? There's all these different use cases where you might just want to schedule something more than 24 months into the future on a certain date field.
Is this more efficient, even if it's not more than 24 months, though? It almost seems like we've got a lot of clients that they want to run through their database. And if, the thing is on this day, send it. And it often fails for one reason or another.
Yeah,
right?
the SalesQL is absolutely the most efficient way to get data. And the biggest reason is that you can branch it across different modules. So like if you wanted to say on the 5-year anniversary of someone's customer onboarding, if their account is still marked as an active customer, then send them an email. And if you were to do that the standard way, you'd have to get all those customers, and then each customer, you'd have to make another call to get the account. Whereas with the SalesQL, you actually build a table on the fly in the code with one call to get all of those records.
So opposed to a simple workflow, which can, look within the 24 months, but I do find sometimes there's just issues with them across the board. How much longer does it take for us to implement something like this?
It depends on how complicated what needs to happen is. The search itself is not that bad. Just to pull a date, like 30-ish minutes, 45 minutes, depending on how many criteria, how many records it needs to look at. Because you kind of have to build all that with a consideration of volume as well. So things get a little different at higher volumes. But yeah, it doesn't take much longer.
Yeah, it seems like this is really the only way to go when doing date-related
big scheduled functions. Yeah, any big scheduled function, we're building them all in SalesQL now.
Pretty cool. All right, that brings us to this week's reads. We've got one from Zoho. We got two actually this week, and one is from Zoho. And this is best practices for email list management. This is probably the longest article ever written in the Zoho blog. And it's actually a transcript of a interview with Brian Minnick, and he's the Zero Bounce COO. Zero Bounce is a company basically that just what they said. They try to make it so that your email does not bounce. They're an email service provider. They do all sorts of things. Anyway, very, very interesting article on list hygiene, setting up your email list, having the proper DNS settings. I mean, this just goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. I mean, a lot of highlight. Anything here, Tyler, that was big for you?
I mean, all of the different tools here that he walks through are really useful.
Yep.
I won't try to summarize them because he goes actually in a lot of depth in some of these. It's worth reading through. I will highlight an interesting stat that he throws out near the beginning of the article, which is that 20 to 30% of business email addresses turn into bounces in a given year because people change jobs or they change emails or you change company domain, all these different things that can happen that turn something into a bounce. So it really is something that, you don't just fix your list one time. You have to build in the processes to keep your list good over the long period of time because it's going to be a constant battle you have to fight.
Yeah, it's true. We have a smaller email mailing list here. It's a few thousand, but over at another website I'm affiliated with, the channel Happy Hour, that list is around 30,000. And we would notice that every week you'd have somewhere between 0.5% to a 1% drop off rate, right? And if you take that gets you your 20 to 30% at the end of the year, every week. It's just amazing that this person's email was good. And now 300 people have changed jobs, just gone. I don't even know how it was during COVID times. I don't know if it's settled down or not. Yeah,
probably even more. A lot of job switching during COVID. I would assume bounce rates were higher than before, if anything.
Yeah. And then Zapier, one of my new favorite blogs, has put out an article on how to automate a manual process without feeling overwhelmed. This is a short read, but it's nice. I mean, oftentimes clients are asking us, should I automate this? Should I not automate this? I think there are a lot of different things you need to take into context. And this is kind of a step-by-step guide. In most cases, I will say automation is worth it. There are some times though, we're asked to do an automation where it's, maybe it's just a click of a button. And in order to automate that, it's going to take 10 or 20 hours or something to make that happen. And it doesn't make a lot of sense. But this is just a quick little read on, things you should consider when you're about to automate a process.
Yep. And I think the summary here up at the top, they actually give a nice little piece of paper that they say you can even fill this out in, physically, is it's all just about when something happens, do something else. It's just then. If I receive an email, then do this. If I add a row to this spreadsheet, then do this. So you just really want to think in that if-then logic as you start thinking about what types of processes can be automated.
Yeah, and if you want to give them your email address, you can download their automation cheat sheet from Zapier University 101, and that will give you everything you need to know there. But quick little article, I thought it was worth pointing out. And then over on CRM, over on Sonata.com, we've got an article on Canvas for Zoho CRM. So for those of you that don't know, Canvas has been out for a while. Was it last week? It was released a couple weeks ago. It was officially released. A lot of improvements to it. It's just better and better and better. And we talk about how this really is, the kind of your user experience tool and how it can change things. So a nice little quick article on that. I tell you, one of the things I love with this latest improvement on Canvas, Tyler, is you can share out a record in view only mode. So as a URL, which is just really cool. If you're a small little company, you've got maybe a real estate agent, a couple houses, you want to put it together that way, you can grab the URL, you can add it to your website. I mean, there's some pretty nice new things they're doing here. And even though we still have some scaling issues, it seems much better now.
And being able to do that public share is really, really slick. You were even talking about that when we first saw it, is that some of those look like they would be a great way to build like a real estate listing and share it out to people. So definitely nice that they've done that. I didn't even know that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's a new part of it. So slick stuff there. So if you haven't checked out Canvas View, start with the templates. That's definitely the easier way to go. By the way, field grouping did exist. Field grouping was taken away. Field grouping is being put back in, I'm told, in the next week or two. So, there's a couple things that are coming and going. I honestly feel this product is making huge leaps and bounds very fast. So I'm really, really happy with the direction that it is going. So, and then also that's all the reads. That's it. There's Sonata. Sorry, move on. Okay, and now it's time for our pick of the week, and that is SalesQL for Zoho CRM. I'm a big fan of Link Match. Link Match allows you to go inside of when you're in LinkedIn, you can just click and go ahead and add a contact directly into the CRM. It pulls in their email address. If you're on a first contact level basis, it's going to grab their email address. It grabs all their LinkedIn profile, basically all the information on them that you can conceivably get. It grabs it, puts it in the CRM, updates the account information. It'll even set up the account, put the business LinkedIn, all that information goes in. And it's a great way, you've got someone who's reached out to you. I always go to LinkedIn to kind of get a more deep view as to what they're about and what their company's about. And then they just kind of let you just flesh out the rest of the record inside of the CRM. Well, SalesQL is another one that has been released, and it's got some pretty nice integration as well with Zoho CRM. So, this is going to go in and kind of do the same kind of thing, drop all the records in. We got all this blurring again here going on here. And basically pull up the profiles and allow you to go ahead and automatically update all of their information. It's a very, very, very similar application. The pricing on it is different in that, it's more expensive. Actually, it's $9 a month, but they got a free one that gets you 100. It
just gets you their contact manager. I think you'd have to at least go for the starter to get the CRM integration.
Yeah. But where it gets cost effective, because it's $9 per user per month for Link Match, is the pro version is $89 a month, and it gets you 15 users. So if you are a larger organization, we have those that are using this pretty much gives you the same thing at a lower cost basis, significantly lower cost basis at that point in time. So you're saving some money if you're a large organization. It's a pretty nice tool. It's just using the API that's available, of course. There's not screen scraping going on here. There's various APIs you can hit, and that's what it does. So yet another good LinkedIn tool. If you're using Sales Navigator, you can grab this as well. Either one of these work exceptionally well right there, because all the data you get, once that data is made available to you, it's able to pull it and grab it in. All these are. So pretty nice plugin. And with that, Tyler, our tip of the week is your very last one in the analytics series.
So in this video kind of is the cherry on top with our walkthrough of Zoho Analytics. So we started with setting up all the data sources. Then we walked through actually digging into the data, understanding how the different tables tie together. Then we actually walked through building out the chart and a pivot table report. And then last but not least, we've got a video here on actually building out the dashboards, right, where we can bring in all those different reports that we made, create some additional widgets. And then we even walk through some of the user filtering that you can set up on a dashboard to make it easier to use. If you're looking to get onboarded with analytics, it's basically a webinar just broken into 4 parts. I'd recommend watching through each of those. It should be a good way to get started.
And as always, if you want to know about that, you can just kind of head on over to our YouTube channel. You will see it here, how to create a dashboard. Actually, all the current analytic ones are starting to flow through. And all of our videos are there. And hey, Tyler, we hit 2,000 subscribers on September 1st. Look at that.
What a day.
Thank you, everybody, for your support. We really appreciate it. And I was just informed by the marketing department this morning that we are out of tutorials. And that's my month to do them. So I guess I know what I'll be doing this weekend to get those all done and over.
Setting up a cup of coffee and recording some training videos.
I know. All right. And with that, we want to thank everybody for joining us this week. And as always, you can join in live and listen to us every Monday morning at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. Or if you want to just contact us, head over to Zanata.com and drop us a line.
And on the website is where you'll find complete episodes as well as show notes with links to the stories we discussed today. We'd love if you follow us on your favorite social media platform and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app, as well as on YouTube. We'll see you next Monday.